Welcome to She Fascinates Me, a hand-picked collection of heartfelt, human conversations with women who've lived boldly, grown wiser, and have stories worth sharing. In a world flooded with AI content and perfectly polished personas, we're all craving something real, and you can't fake this. From big reinventions and quiet pivots to wisdom on wellness, leadership, and turning a passion into a business, each episode is honest, inspiring, and full of connection. Today's guest, Dr. Julie Economos, seems to have it all: a bustling medical career, a loving husband, 4 beautiful children, an active lifestyle that includes multiple marathons around the globe, and even a social media presence as a fashion influencer and model. But her story goes far beyond the picture-perfect snapshots. Not long after becoming a mom, Julie found herself facing a rare and daunting parenting challenge, one that would test her resilience, her marriage, and her priorities in unexpected ways. In our conversation, she opens up about navigating it all while still fiercely protecting her own health, wellness, and joy. Hello there, and welcome to She Fascinates Me. Today, I am with a very special woman here in Atlanta, another Julie Economos. And she is a woman who has so much going on in her life. She is an internal medicine physician. She is a mom of 4 kids, ranging in age from 10 to 16, a wife, a Pilates instructor, a model and fashion influencer with a beautiful social media presence, and a marathon runner. Not one marathon, 34 marathons. Julie, welcome to the show. I can't wait to get to know you better today.
Aw, thank you, Julie.
So, years ago, I met you. My husband and I joined some friends down at the beach on 30A for dinner. Y'all were there with all of your kids. It was our first time meeting you. It's about 7 years ago. And we're just sitting in the condo on the beach, having a nice evening. I think it was probably pizza and beer and wine, all of us together. It was a pretty big group, right?
Yes.
And I just remember having such a fun evening, but noticing pretty early on that there was something going on with the kids. And at that time, they were younger. It was about 7 years ago. So you had a 3-year-old, let me do the math, all the way up to like a 10 or 11-year-old.
He was 9 or 10, probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you and your husband, Steve, were zooming around the table while you're continuing with conversations, checking glucose meters on the children and kind of letting us know, what was going on, because my husband and I were new to the group. We were new to the situation. And you very calmly and seamlessly explained what was happening, and that 3 of 4 of your kids have type 1 diabetes. And that was shocking news to hear, but tell me more about what was going on at that time in your lives.
As type 1s, they don't produce insulin. It's an autoimmune disease where their body destroys the cells in the pancreas that produce insulin. So we give them exogenous insulin through, now they're on pumps, but at the time, little shots.
Okay.
So it was very challenging at the time we
My
met
goodness.
because they weren't on all of the wonderful new closed loop systems that they're on now. So,
and a closed loop system is a big innovation, I'm sure. And for those of us who don't really know what that means, what does closed loop mean?
Right now they're on something called the Dexcom Omnipod system. It's called Omnipod 5. So Omnipod is a pump. It's a patch pump. So you put insulin in it and it's programmed to give them insulin 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And then when they're eating, they can type it in their phone how many carbs they're eating, and it gives them extra insulin to cover their meals. What's really cool about what we call the closed loop system is that they wear 2 things. So that's one thing, the pump that gives them insulin, and then the other thing they wear is called a continuous glucose monitor. They're on one called the Dexcom. And what that does is you put it on, it lasts for 10 days, and it updates their blood sugar every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes, we get more data on, we don't just see what their blood sugar is that moment in time, we can see the trend. So you can see if they're going up, if they're going down, if they're skyrocketing, which means that they have 2 arrows up, if they're dropping really fast, which means they have 2 arrows down. Because before, when we would check them in the middle of the night, let's say their blood sugar was 80. It could be 80 and we're just riding along even, or it could be 80 and if they had just gotten insulin, a few minutes to hours before, it could be going down. So typically we would just treat it even if they were 80, which is a good blood sugar. You don't want them to go low in the middle of the night, so we'd give them a little something to kind of boost their level. Then we'd have to go
Okay.
back and check it again. So
So
now we can see where they're going just through our phone, which is pretty cool.
it's a huge life changer. And I guess,
Oh, it's
having kids who are into technology and they probably don't mind using the apps, they're probably really amazing at it, tracking the food and the carbs and all of that. Is that their
yes.
role in it?
Yeah, so now
Yeah.
that they're older, we used to, calculate everything for them. And, I would used to make their lunches and literally write down the number of carbs in everything. And I would have to you can't just throw a bunch of goldfish in a bag. You have to count them.
Oh my gosh.
And that was a real pain. I mean, we've come a long way. But before I
Wow.
would count how many pretzels were in a bag or whatever, and then write down how many carbs. We used to have to measure and weigh all of their, like, my mom would make pumpkin bread and she would make it, calculate all the carbs and then weigh each slice and put
Oh my
down the
goodness.
number of carbs in each so that the kids would know and we would have more accurate levels to put in so they could get the correct amount of insulin instead of us just guessing. The
Wow.
kids now are doing so much better. They're pretty good about estimating how many carbs are in a meal.
Okay.
Of course, the three of them are all in teenagers. So they're 16, 14, and 13 now. They're all going through their growth spurt at the same time, which is, I think we were talking about this earlier. It's a little bit challenging with their blood sugars
Okay.
because with growth hormone comes increases in cortisol, comes increases in glucose. So we've been in contact often with their endocrinologist just to adjust some levels and, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah, and how fortunate you must feel to actually be a doctor dealing with this situation. And I think it probably brings a sense of calm to the situation, even though it probably isn't that way, but
yeah.
just
No,
your
I mean,
knowledge.
you're right. It does. It does. I think everyone feels a little bit more comfortable knowing that, like, if things go south, I'm here and I know what to do. Like when it's time
Right.
to go to the hospital and when it's time that we can kind of manage it at home. But they also know when I start to panic that they're starting to panic. So I have,
Okay.
so
They're
that's,
reading the room, kind of like
they're
the
reading the
flight attendants
room.
on the plane. If you see them
That's right.
reacting a different way to turbulence, yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
exactly it.
So, you've had to, it sounds like it was probably quite a roller coaster when they were so much younger. And thankfully, medicine and technology have moved things into quite a different place for you. And now you just have to deal with the metabolic changes or the hormone changes that
Yeah.
the children
Yeah.
have as they're growing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, let's backtrack though to the diagnoses because they came one right after the other, didn't they?
They did. So
It's a bit
MJ,
shocking.
so yeah. So our oldest son, he was diagnosed April 10th of 2014. He was in pre-K. He had
Okay.
just turned 5. You know when you just know something's wrong with your kid? I just
Yeah.
I just had this feeling something was wrong with him. One day I was going to work and he was grabbing onto my leg. Like I was walking out the door and I was dragging him with me wrapped around my leg. And I was crying because I, of course, didn't want to leave him. I didn't know what was wrong. Like I examined him. I checked it. He had no fever. He had no belly. Like he didn't, there was no like, oh, he has an ear infection or the
Right.
flu or something. It was, it just something felt off.
Hmm.
So our nanny had been with us a long time. And I was like, hey, something's going on. I don't know what, but please just pay like really close attention to him today.
Hmm.
And when I got home, and she kind of checked in with me throughout the day, and she's like, he's okay, he's tired, and he's really hungry and really thirsty. And when I got home, she was like, I know what's wrong. She's like, he has a UTI. She says, he's been drinking so much water all day. He doesn't want milk, he doesn't want juice, he just wants water. And he ate like 5 grilled cheeses at lunch and he's insatiable. He's still like really hungry and he's peeing all the time. And I was like, oh
Huh.
my gosh, he has diabetes. So I happen to have a glucometer at my house. That's just, you get those when you're a physician.
You
So
get those, yeah.
yeah, I checked his blood sugar and it was HIGH. So HI or just HI means that it's over 500. on that particular meter because it's
Okay.
undetectable. It's so high that they can't really get an accurate read without a blood draw. We went to the hospital because at that point you need to make sure that they're not in danger.
Okay.
Um, my husband thought I was crazy because he was like, I was literally at home before work. And I think they had met for lunch that day. And he was like, they were fine. And I was like,
Yeah.
I promise you it's not fine. So, yeah,
Mom's
we were in the
intuition.
hospital. Yeah. But,
Okay.
the children's hospital did a great job. Like, he was thankfully not in any danger. We just had to learn. I mean, even as a physician, you don't really know all the minutia on how to really treat type 1s. And also, everything's changing so rapidly that it's different now. It's even different now than when MJ was first diagnosed. So, there's just a lot to learn.
Okay.
So, we were in the hospital for several days then. 2.5 years later, my father was very ill. He was diagnosed with metastatic cancer. I was helping take care of him. He declined pretty rapidly. So I had seen few signs with Ty, but I kind of ignored them because I was like, none, this couldn't all be happening at once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I came home from spending the weekend taking care of my dad, and my husband and I were sitting on the couch, and Ty like flies by us and goes to the bathroom, and he like left the door open. He was 6 at the he had just turned 6,
Okay.
and he peed for like 5 minutes. I was like,
Oh my
what?
gosh.
What is happening? I was like,
Yeah.
I looked to see him, and I was like, has he been doing that all weekend? And he goes, actually, he was peeing so much today that MJ goes, maybe you have diabetes like me. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I checked his blood sugar and it said HI. And it was like the world went black. I mean, I
Gosh.
literally fell to the ground. I was
How upsetting.
sobbing.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so upsetting. So I took him. I was like, you need to stay home with the kid, everybody else. I'll take him to the hospital. Um, and thankfully he wasn't in any danger. We had caught him early enough and they were able to,
Okay.
and we already knew we didn't need to stay in the hospital for training. So we were able to
Because
get
that's
home
what
the
took
next
so
day.
long.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
first
When you
time.
had to be there
Yeah.
for a few days because you just had to learn everything for how it works with children that age,
Yes.
because that's not your specialty. You're an internal
Mhm.
medicine doctor, but
That's
not an
right.
endocrinologist. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So then
Uh,
kind of a quicker in and out of the hospital. And oh my gosh, now you have 2 children with type 1
that's right.
diabetes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was October 9th of 2016. So the next day, I met with the nurses at school who were literally my life saving grace. They were, I mean, I can't ever say enough about them. They
Yeah.
helped me stay
Very
sane.
special. Mm-hmm.
They're very special people that will always be in my heart. They're teachers, and they were like, we've got this. We've got you. We've got your husband. We've got your whole
Okay.
family. They were amazing. Um, and so he was able to go to school the next day, and my dad unfortunately took a turn for the worse. So I went up to take care of my dad with my family, and my father passed away that night. So that was October 11th. The following day, on the 12th, I came home after going to the funeral home, and we were just trying to have a family night, and we had Mexican. I remember thinking we had something really salty, and I was like, we had Mexican food, and we put everybody to bed, and my daughter comes down around 11. She woke up, comes downstairs, and she
Mm-hmm.
takes my water bottle. That was like one of those big ones, and she took it down, the whole thing. She's 4. And I was like,
Those
uh,
big water bottles are half the size of a 4-year-old.
right. So I looked at Steve, and he looked at me, and I was like, I mean, I know what we're both thinking, but that's impossible. I was
You
like,
couldn't
it's
even
fine.
utter it
No,
to
we
one
couldn't
another.
say it
Yeah.
out loud. Yeah, it was like it would be like speaking it into existence. So I was like, it's fine. So a little bit later, I had to check Ty. I had to check Ty and MJ anyway. So I went up and I was like, I'm just gonna go in her room and check her. She was dead asleep, and I checked her, and her blood sugar was like 423, and I was like, so
Oh,
I like
it's harrowing
almost
to
felt,
think.
oh, I checked her like 4 times because I was like, this can't be right. I like removed the lancet. I got a brand new one. I cleaned her hands. Like she was
Yeah, yeah,
still
yeah.
asleep. And then I went downstairs and told my husband, and it was just an unbelievable sorrow that we felt. So
I can
Thankfully, her
imagine.
endocrinologist was on my speed dial at this point. So I called
Mm-hmm.
her and she's fantastic. And I was like, I don't have it in me to go to the hospital right now. I was like, I can't wake her up. I don't want to. We have
Okay.
everything we need
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So she told me what to do. I gave her insulin. Caitlin literally didn't wake up through any of it. And the next morning, I pulled the boys together and I was like, I need you guys to be strong for your sister. We diagnosed her with type 1 last night. She doesn't even know. She's not even awake. She's about to wake up to a whole different world, a different life.
Mm-hmm.
So I need you
Sweet little
guys.
thing.
Like, and they stepped up in the biggest way.
The best big
So
brothers. Wow.
yeah, best big brothers. So she woke up. She still, she's 4. Like but she took it like, okay, like this is what we're all doing. We're all checking our blood sugars today. And like, okay, so I
Oh,
need a shot for breakfast, and I took her in to the endocrinologist that morning and we worked on everything together. It was a long visit and a very emotional visit, but
yeah.
she
It
was
makes me
great.
think about triplets, but just in a medical
Yeah.
sense.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
try to imagine what it would be like to have multiples, and that kind of blows my mind. But to think about this, which is such a high risk situation that you're constantly
Yeah.
having to worry about and manage, it's the same
Yeah.
kind of thing, I'm sure. Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, hon. So this is quite a lot. And meanwhile, you've got an incredible support system with your doctors and with your husband and the family, and the
Mhm.
kids are all,
Yeah.
cooperating and they're settling into it. Now you've got Caitlin who's new to it. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm sure it must have made things just challenging all around, and you're in
Yeah.
such a state of stress. What does that do in a husband and wife situation? Do you just buckle down, or did you have a lot of bumps in the road?
Yeah. I mean, we went through every emotion possible.
Yeah, yeah,
um, I remember Steve saying, when we diagnosed Caitlin, he just looked at me and he was like, "This right here, this moment right now, is the worst moment of our lives." And he's like, "And
yeah.
it's gonna get better." And I'm like, "I
Okay.
know, but like it's like a, it was a very hard time." And I was like, "Well, I hope it doesn't get freaking worse." Because I mean, this is like it
Because you
was
had Jake
the
as well. By then, did you already have
yeah.
Jake?
So
Yeah,
yeah, Jake was 1, a little over 1
yeah.
at the time. He was like 15 months old. And I was like, well, Jake better not have it. So I was
Were
like,
you
we just have
automatically
1 kid
wanting to get
without it.
that verified? Was that something you did
Yes.
right then?
Yeah. So I fought Steve on that for a while. That was a battle that we fought for a while because I was like, I don't they do have it was called TrialNet at the time. It was a clinical study to test children with siblings or parents of type 1s for the antibodies, the autoantibodies that can predispose you to type 1. And if you have X, your likelihood is this. If you have like 1, your likelihood is, whatever percentage. And if you have 3, it's like a foregone conclusion. You basically have it. You just haven't manifested it yet. And the reason at the time I didn't want to know, well, there were several. One kind of, I felt like, um, sometimes not knowing is like you can just pretend like everything's perfect, like he's not going to get it.
Yeah.
Um, but also at that time, there was nothing you could do if he did test positive. Now there is. So
Ah,
there's every reason now to do it.
okay.
Absolutely, everyone should do that test, especially if you have a sibling or a first degree relative with type 1.
Okay.
Um, because there is a medication now that can help you prolong your regular life before you develop type 1.
Interesting.
And so there's definite reasons to do it now. But at the time, we did not have this particular drug or it hadn't been approved.
Okay.
So finally, after a summer, I don't know if your kids ever did this when they were little, but for some reason, when we're at the pool, my kids like pee all the time. And this is like before the type 1 stuff. Like I was like, are you drinking the pool water? What is happening? I just feel like they always had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So my youngest, like one summer, he was peeing every time we went to the pool, like multiple times. And I was like, so I was driving myself crazy, checking his blood sugar. And he was, 2. And my husband's like, you're driving him crazy and you're driving yourself crazy.
But it
So
was
why
a
don't
big
we?
sign for the other
Yeah.
children. Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, he's like, so why don't we just do the testing that I had not wanted to do?
Yeah.
And I was like,
That must
okay.
have been the scariest moment. But I mean, on the one
Yeah.
hand, you already had 3, so what's 4? But still.
Right.
Now it is important to mention, I don't believe I have mentioned already, but neither you nor your husband are diabetic.
No
And
one in the
so
family is
what a
a type
fluke.
1.
Can you explain
Right.
in lay terms how this happens?
Yeah, it's a great question. We think it's the combination of our 2 genes, most likely.
Oh,
But there's some type of genetic predisposition. So these people who have, not everyone who has these autoantibodies I was talking about develops type 1, and not everyone with type 1 has these autoantibodies, but they are very linked. I mean, if you have 3 of these autoantibodies, you are most definitely going to get type 1. The kids do have them, the 3 kids. Jake does not. Steve and I also battled this whole whether we get tested for the autoantibodies or not. I won this battle. This was another one that I didn't want to know. Mostly because I didn't want to place blame. And whether logically I
yeah.
understand it's neither my fault nor my husband's. Logically, I understand that, but emotionally, I felt like once we get the test results, if it's me, I will certainly never forgive myself. If it's him, I probably would never blame him logically, but emotionally, I'd be a little bit upset, probably. It's what I'm thinking. So I don't know
Yeah.
because the 2 of
No,
us
it
is
makes
still not
sense.
done.
It's obviously,
Yeah,
this understanding all of this, it's a personal
yeah,
decision. And obviously y'all are
for sure.
well within your right to handle that however you want. And it's just
Yeah,
fascinating though. Gosh, did you ever decide to play the lottery? I mean, the
yeah,
the union of
that's right.
Julie and Steve created
I know.
such an unusual, rare
Yeah.
situation. Yeah, my goodness. And now we'll take a moment for the giving intermission. Don't fast forward, your karma is watching. Today's spotlight is on Breakthrough T1D, formerly known as JDRF. This organization is the leading global nonprofit funding type 1 diabetes research. Their mission is bold and clear: to improve lives today and tomorrow by accelerating life-changing breakthroughs to cure, prevent, and treat T1D and its complications. T1D is an autoimmune disease that strikes both children and adults suddenly. It's not caused by diet or lifestyle, and currently there's no cure. People with T1D must constantly monitor their blood sugar and rely on insulin to survive, yet insulin is not a cure. Breakthrough T1D is working to change that. Through research, advocacy, and community support, they're driving progress in everything from beta cell regeneration to artificial pancreas systems and immunotherapy treatments. They also provide invaluable resources to families newly navigating the challenges of T1D. If you or someone you love is affected by type 1 diabetes, or if you're simply inspired to support the search for a cure, I encourage you to learn more or get involved. You can donate, walk, advocate, or just help spread awareness. Visit breakthrought1d.org to learn more. Together, we can help turn type 1 into type none. I mean, I'm so glad to hear that everything feels like it's under control, and certainly you can handle anything. And so these changes that are happening with puberty and all these things, you've got this 100%.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be fun, but you've got it. And I guess
We're working on it. Yeah.
that'll take us on to the next element of who you are, Julie, and that is, all the other things that are an important part of your life, because I'm sure you had a very conscious time in your mind where you're like, I can't let this define me. I am so many things. You're a wife and you're a mother, you're an athlete. Let's touch on how the whole marathon thing began with you. Was it at
Yeah.
this
So
time while all of this is going on, or was this before you even had the kids? I mean, 34 marathons, you must have started when you were a little ookie pookie.
yeah. So it's interesting. I hated running when I was young, hated
Oh,
it. I
okay.
was so do you remember those tests you had to do? I think it's called like the presidential fitness test. So when I was in the fifth grade, I remember this like it was yesterday. I did not complete the mile in the time that was I was supposed to. So I had to
Okay.
rerun it. Me and one other girl in our class. And I was like, I just suck at this. Like, I'm terrible at running. I always get a stitch in my side. For some reason, it was always like after lunch, and I was like, I can't eat and run. And anyway,
Hmm.
I was like, running's just not my thing. Well, I decided that I was going to try to do better. So I ran a little bit in high school. But in college, I was a cheerleader. And my strength coach was Eddie Lee Ivory, who played for the Green Bay Packers. He's amazing.
Okay.
Um, and he was like, we gotta get you in like better shape. Cause I was like, I was like
Okay.
cardiovascularly, I was not in great shape. I was getting stronger with him, but I needed to, my endurance wasn't great, especially
I
with
see.
running. And my cheerleading coach at the time loved to run for whatever reason. And so she
Hmm.
started making us run. And my senior year, my both of them made us do like so much running. I mean, start to do races and things like that. And I was like, okay, I really have to get better at this. Also, I realized it was a good stress reliever.
Sure.
I was like, you know what? Now that I can without like this, the cramps and all this stuff, um, it does really help alleviate stress, and it doesn't take a lot of foresight. You can just put on your shoes and your socks and
Yes.
go out.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So, um, before I graduated, I started running a lot more. And then I went to medical school at Emory, and I was like, you know what? This is a really great way to get in some exercise in between classes
Hmm.
or studying or just a study break. So that's all I did. I mean, I ran. I just kept running and running and
Okay.
running. And finally, I was like, I should do a race. So I had done a couple half marathons,
Hmm.
and my first year of med school, or second year of med school rather, decided to run my first marathon. So I ran that in St. Louis.
Okay.
And I got the bug. I mean, that was the beginning of the end. Like I
Okay.
loved it. I thought it was the best thing. So,
So with everything going on with the kids,
yeah,
fast forwarding several years
yeah,
to having the kids and then having the medical issues, did you stay consistent with the running, or were there periods of time where you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't do this? Or was it part of you that you needed to do to survive and get through what you were dealing with?
yeah. There has probably never been a time when I was running that I was like, I absolutely hate this.
Okay.
Like I run because it makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So, yeah, for me, it was something I looked forward to every day. So
Yes.
that was my time for myself. And I was like, this is my safe space.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I wouldn't, I mean, now I do because of the kids' blood sugars and stuff, but for a long time, I didn't bring my phone with me. I
Mm-hmm.
just had we didn't have Apple Watches for a long time. Like,
Yeah. Just
it was
total
just me, my
solitude.
music, or my whatever I was listening to, or sometimes I don't listen to music at all and I just enjoy my surroundings. But
Yes.
it's just a time that I get to be with myself, and my feelings and all the things.
Right. I can see why
It's
it's
been
so special to
consistent.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. It's huge. So, more on the marathoning. You have run marathons all over the world, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Where have you
It's
been?
been fun. So
And how does that
my
work?
fir- yeah, so the time changes are tricky.
Uh-huh.
My first international race was in Berlin. And that was really cool. It was my first international world major. There are six, well, now there are seven Abbott World Marathon majors, and the ones in the States are New York, Chicago, and Boston. So I'd run
Okay.
all of those. And my husband, for work, was going to Oktoberfest in Germany, and I was like, I wonder when the Berlin Marathon is. And it happened to be the weekend before we were supposed to be
Perfect.
going to Germany for Oktoberfest. So we were going to Munich. So I was like, how about I run the marathon in Berlin and then we go on to Munich? And it was amazing. We had the best time. It was wonderful. And it was really cool to be at this like world major race where
Sure.
it was in kilometers and not miles.
Right.
Everyone speaking all different languages, all there to do the same thing, the same goal. It was all for different reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but I loved it. Um, so then my I have several people that I get to run with who I love, and we all decided to go to Paris in April, about 7 months later. And at the same time, I got into the London Marathon with what is now called Breakthrough Type 1 Diabetes. It was called JDRF.
Okay.
So I got a charity number for London and also was signed up to do Paris. So London was 13 days after Paris. So I
Oh my
went.
gosh, back to back marathons. I bet that's hard.
I mean, so I had a whole like basically a meeting with the family because my training coach was like, I mean, without saying I was too old to fly back and forth, that's kind of what she said, you know? Like, you're not 20 anymore, I'm pretty sure is maybe what she said
Okay.
in a nice way. But she was like, no matter how old you are, it's not a good idea to fly back from Paris and then do a turnaround like 5 days later and fly back
Mhm.
to London if you're trying to run it for time, which I wanted to run London for time. So
Because the flying back and forth takes such a hit, your body takes such a hit from doing
Oh,
that, and
physically,
circulation
sleep
and
is
yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah,
and it's messes your sleep cycle up, your recovery cycle,
sure.
everything. So I had a
So
whole
darn
meeting with
it,
the
you just had to
family.
stay in Europe.
I did, and my husband's amazing. He was like, "You should do it. I think it's great." And we called in the troops, my mom, like our friends, everything. I set up as much as I could before we left.
Hmm.
And so I got to do Paris with my girlfriends. We had a blast. And then they left, and I traveled to Switzerland by myself for a week. And then I met my husband in London. So Steve met me in London, and I got to run London, which was amazing.
So by that point, you've got
Um,
3 international marathons under your belt. You get
yes.
medals for these marathons, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I applied to do Tokyo, which is the sixth of the 6 stars
Hmm.
for the world majors. I applied and got in a year ago, last July. And I was like, I want to take the kids. You get a special medal if you finish the 6 primary Abbott World Majors. And so I wanted the kids to see me do that. And my
Yes.
mom wanted to come. So the 7 of us went to Japan, and it was amazing. We
That's
had the best
incredible.
time.
I
Yeah.
I love that they went with you. I love how it just kind of makes everything feel like such a moment of validation for every single one of you and your family to be able to commend one another for how strong all of you are. Oh wait, do you have your medals near you? Before we got together,
Yes.
you showed me these medals. You need to show
That
everyone.
was,
This is impressive,
yeah,
y'all.
that's
Look.
fine. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. They're
Got a
beautiful.
little display one.
I love all of the
Thank you. So the
colors.
kids like to tell me which ones are their favorite, but
Yeah.
the
Oh.
older boys have been to several of them, and
Hmm.
we try not to take kids in strollers to the races, but so when they were like when Jake was little, he didn't get to go to New York with us.
Hmm.
He didn't get to go to Philly. But the big ones, the larger races, we try to take the kids to because it's fun. We get to explore the
Sure.
cities, and they have a good time, and it's just a fun thing to do. So, but yeah, they're like. They go, they're like, this one was my favorite. This one was great.
Yeah.
And, we have all these memories from those,
Yeah.
which makes me happy.
Of
So
course.
yeah.
You've got to keep quite a mix going, right? Because with all of this going on, I can see how it might be easy for some people, some families, if there wasn't such a good support system, to
Yeah.
slip into a real sad, state of despair almost.
Yeah.
And it just seems like y'all just keep on motoring through things. And there you are, you and your husband at the helm, and just making it all work. And it sounds like all of you have just such a great outlook on life. And this is your something. And there's that song, Nick Acosta. She's
Yeah.
maybe she was a one hit wonder, but she has this one song. Everybody's got their something. And
Yeah.
what an amazing job y'all
It's
are doing
true.
dealing with that.
It's true.
Then you're also teaching Pilates, and you used to have quite a patient load in your medical practice, and now you've transitioned over to a concierge practice. So it sounds like you've got just a good balance of everything going on in your
Yeah.
life. Do you feel like you're in control, or are there certain areas that you kind of need to tweak now and then?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know that anyone really ever finds their total balance.
Okay.
And I tell my kids this all the time. I'm like, I still don't really know what I want to do when I grow up. I feel like I'm constantly thinking of different ideas, or I get passionate about. I have my primary passions, but I feel like it's fine to decide that you're 40 and still want to like do something different, or
Of
reinvent
course.
yourself in some way.
So you mentioned you went through a training. So, I mean, I think that's pretty interesting too, because I think there's so many women who could be inspired just by that move that you made in your life, going from working out at a
Yeah.
particular place to becoming a certified instructor. So can you explain kind of what that was
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I met with our manager and the
Uh-huh.
owner, and we had a series of, like, there's so many hours you have to do, and you practice, they make sure that you are doing all the moves properly, and then you get, it's months long process,
Okay.
but it's fun. And then
Yeah.
you start to practice teaching. And so you have to practice, even simple things like figuring out how to put on the mic and turn on the mic.
I
But
see.
then you do mock classes with other teachers and family and friends. And it's fun because, all the instructors, we all have very different personalities. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us, it's a second job that we
Mm-hmm.
do because we love it. We have the most, it's really like, if you look at our list of trainers and what everyone does and their family backgrounds, it's like every woman is super impressed. It's like amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so in awe of all these instructors. They're phenomenal. And everyone has their different unique style, and different clients are, drawn to different personalities and styles of teaching. But everyone is like really passionate about their clients and getting the
Yeah.
best workout and empowering people to feel stronger. So I,
Sure.
I just love it.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
great culture and a very deliberate choice, to just put into your life, because things in your life need to feel right and need to feel healthy, and
Yeah.
yeah, excellent. Well, gosh, it's just been so wonderful getting to talk with you and learn all about what you do on the day to day. And now that we've finally connected these 7 years later, I look forward to running into you around town. And I feel like I have a new friend here. And I'm sure a lot of the people who are watching and listening right now feel the same. And if nothing else, feel incredibly inspired. I loved it. And we'll see you
Thank you so
again.
much. Yes. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Bye. Talking with Julie reminds me that what we see from the outside is often only part of the story. Yes, she's accomplished, active, and deeply connected to her community, but she's also faced a level of parenting adversity most of us can't even imagine. Hearing how she and her husband have worked as a team, how her children have developed their own resilience, and how she's held onto her own identity along the way is nothing short of inspiring. It's a reminder that thriving isn't about a perfect life. It's about building the strength, systems, and support to weather the storms together. She Fascinates Me is a project that took real courage for me to start. I sat with this idea for more than 2 years before I finally found the nerve to bring it to life. What held me back? I don't have formal training in media, I'm not especially tech savvy, and like so many women, I worried about criticism. I'm sharing this because it's the real side of me as your host. Every woman who joins me on this show shows up with honesty, heart, and courage, and I owe you the same. My guests are real, and so am I. So the fact that you're here, listening all the way to the end, means you gave me a chance, and for that, I'm truly grateful. If only more women built each other up the way you just did by showing up and listening. This podcast is my brave step. There will be critiques along the way, and I may take some of them to heart, or I may not, but either way, I'm here. I'm doing it, and I am proud of that. She Fascinates Me is about connection and community and the way a podcast can feel like good company for busy women. I'm glad we connected today. You can expand our community of fascinating women by dropping me a line. Who fascinates you?
Hey everyone, this is me, Joel. I'm just here as the producer and editor of She Fascinates Me to let you all know that we would love if you could go follow us on any social media app you use, like and rate us on whatever podcatcher app you're using, and tell all your friends about the show. If you enjoyed listening to the show but want to watch it, go check us out on Spotify Videos, where all the episodes have the video format uploaded as well. If you don't use Spotify, check us out on youtube.com under She Fascinates Me. All full video episodes are posted up there, and you can see tons of clips on the show on Instagram and other social media apps. Thank you so much for listening to She Fascinates Me, and make sure to come back every week so you can hear another fascinating conversation with Julie and one of her guests. And who knows, like she said, maybe you could suggest someone who fascinates you and you'll hear them on the show. Thanks again for listening, and make sure to like and follow us wherever you can.